Peter and Hazel Mary Bull refused to let civil partners Martin Hall and Stephen Preddy use a double bed because they did not want to offer the opportunity for any non-married couples to have sex under their roof. It's important in terms of this conversation to remind you that I'm not married, so if I arrived with my girlfriend, or indeed with anybody's girlfriend, and wanted to stay at this particular hotel, I wouldn't be allowed either. The faith, the Bull's faith, is such that you have to be married and heterosexual. So it's not so much, well, it is an aspect that they're gay, but it's also an aspect that if you were straight and unmarried, you wouldn't get a room. These sleeping restrictions are mentioned in one section of the hotel's website. Mr. Preddy, one of the gay couples, said he was not aware of them. The court was told that Mrs. Bull, the female hotelier, took the telephone booking but forgot to go through the process of ascertaining whether the reservation was for a married couple. It's also been heard at Bristol County Court that Stonewall, the gay rights organisation, had sent literature and leaflets to the hotel because they heard of its policy. Who's right in all of this? Andrew Copson is head of the British Humanist Association. You have sympathy with the gay couple, Mr. Copson?
I do have sympathy with them, yes. I think that if someone is opening up a service which, they're going into the marketplace to offer, like a bed and breakfast, for example, or any other sort of service for money, then people have, a right to access it and to expect to be treated, with dignity when they're doing so. And, I wouldn't be able to refuse Christians access to a bed and breakfast if I had one. I wouldn't be able to refuse, black people access to a bed and breakfast if I had one. And I don't think that the situation should be any different for people who are gay or straight.
Well, why shouldn't the faith of these two people be taken into account?
Well, I think it is important that we respect each other's religious and non-religious convictions, which are obviously very important to us all. We all have beliefs of one sort or another. But I think we should also respect the fact that when it comes to getting in the way of other people, we also have a civic duty to confine ourselves. The old saying about liberty being that when your freedom to swing your fist ends at the end of the next person's nose, and I think it's the same thing about your ability to swing your religious or philosophical convictions. Once you're in the position where you're denying someone else a service or a freedom or a liberty, then you've got to govern yourself and accept that there are restrictions on what you can do in line with your beliefs in a shared society.
All right, coming back to you in just a second, listening to that, Simon Calvert, who's Deputy Director for Public Affairs for the Christian Institute. Mr. Copson makes a fair point, Mr. Calvert. If this couple hadn't been allowed in because, for the purpose of argument, they were Asian or black, these people would probably be going behind bars.
Well, he does have a fair point, of course, that we have to have respect for one another's dignity, and that we can't just do as we please. But that, of course, is not the whole story. Mr. Copson is from the British Humanist Association. He will know that we have, for example, in legislation, exemptions which protect teachers in schools from not having to take religious assemblies or RE lessons. We respect people's conscience when it comes to forcing them to do things which go against their deeply held beliefs. You could think of lots of other examples. You don't have a right to join a Labour club if you're a Conservative Party activist. If I'm an engineer with strong environmentalist principles, I probably wouldn't choose to take a contract for Texaco. If I was a woman, I might not want to provide accounting for a lap dancing lounge.
Do you think that's a fair analogy with a hotelier, a couple of hoteliers not allowing gay couple in?
Well, let's just be clear. I don't blame you for the slip there, but of course, it's not a matter of not letting gay couples in. The policy of the guest house is that they will welcome anybody, but if they're not married, they would ask them to have separate rooms. And there's a very great difference there. So it's not, as the headlines have put it, about banning gays. It's about providing double beds to unmarried couples. And that's something which is very personal. It's something about which people have very strong beliefs. And this, of course, is the Bull's own home. And, people might not agree with their views, but do they really think that the law should dictate to them how they live out their own religious principles in their own home?
Well, let's put that to Mr. Copson. Yes, that's a fair point. It is their own home, Mr. Copson.
Well, it's their own home, but they're inviting people to come and stay in it for money. And I think that once you've entered that sort of public marketplace, then you have to accept that you can't just do whatever you want. I mean, people can't just do whatever they want all the time. And if they do want to live in line with their own convictions, then sometimes they have to bear the consequences of it. If I'm a pacifist during the First or the Second World War, for example, and I don't want to fight because I have a deep religious or non-religious conviction against killing, then I can opt out, I can conscientiously object, but the consequence is I go to prison. And if your deeply held Christian beliefs mean that you don't want people sharing a bed if they're not in a straight marriage, then maybe the consequence of that, we just have to accept it, is that you can't go into the marketplace and offer a bed and breakfast service because you're not able to comply with the laws that Parliament has set down that protect the dignity of consumers.
Well, I wonder if there's any limit to that, Mr. Copson. I mean, really, if you mentioned conscientious objectors in prison, I mean, if the law became even more oppressive for religious people and threatened all kinds of other freedoms, I mean, how far would you go? Is it just a matter of what the law of the land says you must do, even if it costs you the ultimate price of your religious principles? Where do you end?
Well,
where do you stop?
There is a choice, isn't there? There is a choice for this couple. I mean, they can decide that they want to see their religious principles right through to the very end, or they can decide that they want to engage in a commercial service.
It's not much of a choice, really, is it? They're going to lose their livelihood.
I'm not disagreeing. Or they could make a decision to do something differently. I mean, I'm not saying that it's not a balance.
Mr. Copson, that is a fair point. Is it a choice because they would lose their livelihood?
This is a balance between their religious convictions
Mr. Copson?
And the protection. Well, I don't understand that question. It doesn't make sense.
Well,
what do you mean?
Well, they're hoteliers, and I think Mr. Calvert is, if you take it to its ultimate conclusion, that they could lose their livelihood.
Well, they could let gay people share a room, or unmarried people share a room. But that isn't a trump card. Religion is not a trump card.
I don't think they think it is a trump card. I think they profess their faith, they celebrate their faith, and they want to apply it in the home in which they live, which also is a boarding house or hotel.
But you're saying it should trump other people's rights. So with respect, that is saying that it's a trump card. You're saying that sort of conviction alone should be allowed to be seen through and enforced to its very logical end conclusion against all interests of other sorts of people.
I don't see why, and I appreciate I'm entering this, and Mr. Calvert can defend himself, but I don't know if you're using the expression trumps. Why do the rights of this gay couple trump the human rights of these Christians?
People don't have a... What do you mean they're human rights?
Well,
why do they not have a right?
Why do they not have a right to allow themselves to let out rooms to whom they so choose, as long as they obviously don't say, I'm sorry, you're black, you can't come to the hotel. We've got legislation that covers that. Why do the rights of this gay couple trump the rights of this Christian couple?
Well, gay people are protected in the same way as black people are, because, I mean, they have rights. This Christian couple, if they were to go to a hotel where they were turned away for being Christian, would be protected in law, okay?
Yes.
Because the law protects people who are in the position of either receiving the service or, at a disadvantage. Now, when you're offering a service yourself, you are in the position of power. If you have the hotel or the restaurant or the public service or whatever, you are the person providing that service to someone who requires it. And so the law very properly protects the consumer, just as any consumer law protects people who are, engaging in the exchange of their money for a service.
I'm grateful to both of you for debating it so cogently. Thank you. Andrew Copson, head of the British Humanist Association. Last person from whom you heard. You also heard from Simon Calvert, who's Deputy Director for Public Affairs for the Christian Institute.